Today we're going to cover why you should never enter into a rent-to-own contract with your tenants. Here we go. Welcome back to REI Simplified. I'm your host, Adam Johnson, where we break down complex real estate situations and scenarios for people like me and you, the beginning investor. Today we're talking about rent-to-own, dealing with rent-to-own tenants, hoping that they'll buy your house. Just a disclaimer, what I'm about to say is simply my opinion. It is not facts. However, it's from our personal experience in our business dealing with about 10 rent-to-own contracts, rent-to-own tenants. I will just say that there are outliers. This isn't a rule to investing in rent-to-own properties. And also I'll say not everybody fits the mold, okay? So again, I'm about to give you generalities on what we've experienced and why we will never again do rent-to-own contracts with people that haven't stayed with us for at least 1 year. So let's go. What is rent-to-own? Okay, you've heard the term rent-to-own. You've heard the term rent to buy, or all these different types of terms. But what it means is a tenant in general, they can rent a property, usually from 18 months up to 5 years, depending on many other factors, where they'll rent the property, and depending on the terms of the contract, they'll end up buying that property within the 18-month or 5-year term that the rent-to-own buyer and the homeowner have agreed to. That sounds simple enough. It sounds like it briefs well. It should be very easy. However, it almost never happens. Statistically, in the US, only 8% of the tenants that enter into a rent-to-own contract actually buy the house. 8%. Okay? So why would a tenant want to do a rent-to-own instead of just buy the house outright? In general, in most cases, their credit won't allow them to buy a property traditionally. So whether it be a low credit score, whether it be a bankruptcy, many factors, but generally speaking, what I have seen in our business is their credit score isn't where it needs to be, or they haven't had a job long enough for the bank to lend to them. That's generally the most common thing that we see in our business is our credit score is too low to buy a house. So that's one problem, obviously. Because your credit score tells me who you are. It tells me your spending habits. It tells me a lot about you based off that one number. And those are my assumptions. They may be correct, may not be correct, but we've dealt with so many people, a couple of hundred tenants, not rent-to-own tenants, but tenants that have applied with us and stayed with us. We've seen a lot of stuff. So I openly judge a potential applicant based on their credit score. That's a huge weight for us in our system, whether we're going to move forward with this tenant or not. So generally speaking, a person will do a rent-to-own agreement because their credit score is low, but they need that 18 months, that 2-year, 3-year, 4-year to raise their credit score to get back to build their financial profile so that they are lendable by a traditional bank. Okay, so that's one problem. Another problem with rent-to-own is that when a person enters into a rent-to-own contract with me, the homeowner, part of the documentation is an actual purchase agreement. And on that purchase agreement, it'll say, for example, it'll have the date of, let's just use January the 1st, 2026. Doesn't matter what date we use. It also say that they put down a non-refundable deposit. Why non-refundable? Okay, hear me out, because I'm the business owner, and this is why we do what we do as business owners. We have the tenant put down a non-refundable deposit. Usually it could be 3.5%, 5%, 10%. So let's just say that the home is worth $200,000 and we have them put down 3%. That's $6,000. That's non-refundable, and that money comes off the purchase price. So in this example, we've contracted for them to buy our house on January the 1st, 2026 for $200,000 minus the 3% they put down, totaling $6,000 off of $200,000, which means they owe us $194,000 on or before 1 January 2026 for this scenario. Okay, so that money's non-refundable. Why is it non-refundable? Because when you enter into a rent-to-own contract, you lock that house up. As a renter, the rent-to-own tenant, you lock the house up. We've signed a purchase agreement. I can't sell the house to anybody else. If a person comes by and this house is worth $200,000 and they offer me $300,000 for this house cash, I cannot accept it. The house is locked down by my rent-to-own tenant. So that's why the deposit is non-refundable. So please understand that. So that's another problem we have with rent-to-own tenants, is because if they have bad credit, but yet they have that 3%, that $6, $10, $20,000 to put down non-refundable, that's a problem to me. If you have $20,000, $5,000, $10,000 laying around, why is that money not going towards your bills to raise your credit score? So that to me is a psychological issue, a misunderstanding of finances and responsibility. On top of everything else, a lot of the rent-to-own tenants, they're not young, they're not 20 years old. A lot of them that we dealt with are 35, 40, 45, 50. Here's what's wrong with that to me. If you're 45 years old and you still don't have your finances or a good understanding of finances, and you're still low credit and you still have all these problems and you still have all this going on, you're not going to get better. You're not going to get better in the next 2 years to buy this house. So here's what happens. We've had about 10 rent-to-own tenants. Not one of them followed through. Not one of them ever repaired their credit score. Not one of them ever did anything to put themselves in position to be able to buy the property. So what happened? Well, when they do a rent-to-own contract, in their mind, in a rent-to-own tenant's mind, they feel that they own the home already. So they're starting to make little adjustments. We've had walls painted, we've had fixtures moved, and amongst other small things that should not have been done because they didn't buy the house. Now, me as the owner, I'm very well versed in my documentation. Everything is in black and white. I leave nothing up to misinterpretation. However, they don't read. They don't read all the documents. They should, and we give them the documentation. We tell them, please go and talk to an attorney, get a second opinion, make sure that you understand everything. Saying that, I have sent the documentation probably totaling about 25 pages, give or take, because there's a purchase agreement, a rental agreement, and a lease option agreement, rent-to-own agreement. I've had rent-to-own tenants sign all 25 documents in about 37 seconds, because on DocuSign, when you send it to them, they get notified via email, and then you can just press sign now. They don't read a damn thing. So in my experience, I will never ever again enter into a rent-to-own contract unless we've had them be tenants with us for 1 year. Because another problem with rent-to-own contracts is that when you enter into a rent-to-own contract with a tenant from day one, you have no history with this tenant. So, but you're about to enter into maybe a 4-year agreement, a 2-year agreement, a 3-year agreement, and you don't know their payment habits. You don't know them as a family staying in your home. And this is a hard lesson learned the hard way by us. So moving forward, our policy is now, if you want to rent to own with us, you'll first stay with us for 1 full year so that we have an understanding of your habits, how well you take care of the home, how responsive you are, amongst other things when dealing with a business transaction. So that's it, guys. That's it. If I could give any advice to younger Adam starting his business, starting to buy houses subject to and turn them into rental properties, I would have never done I would have never entered into a rent-to-own contract on day one with a new person. They would have stayed with me for 1 year at least, and it would have moved forward that way. So that's it. When you're doing a rent, now let me just say this, guys. Let me take a step back. I know investors in my area, that's all they do. They get a house, maybe subject to, maybe another creative way. They won't touch that house. The house looks like it did when it was built in 1997. And then they'll get a rent-to-own tenant in their property. They don't care. They didn't touch the house. They didn't do any improvements or anything like that. And the people that want those types of houses usually are not the most high character individuals. I'm being honest, and if this is politically incorrect, this is how I really feel. When we get our houses, we always make them current. Like, we change everything out. We make sure that it's desirable, not just livable, desirable. We want people to want to live in our properties. Therefore, we want the best potential tenants, not just anybody that is looking for someone to say yes. So that's it. When dealing with rent-to-own tenants, I recommend making sure that you have all your documentation in order. I recommend getting your documents from an attorney. We also have them as well, but get them from an attorney to make sure that your attorney looks them over. Make sure that the people signing those documents understand all the ins and outs. Most importantly, they understand, if you do it this way, which is the way we do it, that deposit is non-refundable. Non-refundable. On my documentation, I have a big, bold, I think like 24-point font to make sure that this is not getting through without being seen. But in any case, when they default or whatever, they want their money back, they're not getting it back. one of the issues with rent to own. So without being a dead horse, be careful with rent to own properties. This is just my experience. Other investors only do this. This is all they do, and they are obviously making a living. It's not the type of business that I want to deal with. It's not the type of clientele that I want to work with. So in your business, you have to set the standard on the type of individuals that you want to work with. You don't want to work with just anybody. You don't want to just say yes to the first person that has $5,000 to put in your hand. Do not do that. Set your standards high, and when people work with you, they have to meet those standards. Even rent-to-own tenants have to meet your standards. So that's it, guys. That's a quick rundown on what I would not ever do again starting out fresh as a real estate investor. Also, some of the reasons why. It's not just money, it's also psychology of these individuals. Again, this is not politically correct. This is how I really feel, and I have tons and tons of history, documented emails and all those types of things to back up my opinion. So until we see each other out there on the streets, until we get a chance to work together, my name is Adam Johnson. I am the creator of this REI Simplified. We're here to help people start buying houses. And we're also here to help people not make the same mistakes that we made early on in our business career. So I hope you guys got something out of this. If you did, please like, share, send it to a buddy. Why not? It's free. So until we meet, I'll see you guys again on YouTube, on social media, and go out there and buy some houses. We'll see y'all later.